is the starting lineup. Here's your host, Carl Schoening.
Welcome into the starting lineup. I'm Carl Schoening, starting at your host and the voice coming through your speakers. LG is in the starting lineup with me today as the audio technician. The Roadrunners and the Bobcats clash on the baseball diamond and their fans unite on Twitter. Ole Miss catches strays, and the Pistons and the Cavs have a pivotal Game 5. But first, we're in San Antonio, Texas, and the biggest game in the sports world happened last night at the Frost Bank Center, a pivotal Game 5 for the Spurs and the Timberwolves. It was all San Antonio running away with a win, 126-97.
Go Spurs, go!
Yes, sir. Go Spurs, go. Victor Wembanyama sets the tone early with 18 first-quarter points, would finish with a game-high 27 points. Also, he grabbed 17 rebounds, dished out 5 assists, had 3 blocks, and the Spurs, with 6 players in double figures, cruise to a easy win as they were able to bring in Kelly Olynyk there at the end of the game. I don't like calling Kelly Olynyk the human victory cigar because I really thought he was going to be much more in the rotation over the course of the year. He's a pretty good player, but I do enjoy me a Kelly Olynyk sighting because that means hopefully and usually this season that the Spurs have had the win well in hand. It was tied at 61, and I should have done the math ahead of time, but the Spurs go ahead and proceed to outscore the Timberwolves from that point in the third quarter when it was tied at 61 to win it 126-97. Game 6 in Minneapolis is going to be on Friday night, and it's do or die for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Bring in LG here because LG was out there at the Frostbank Center with me, and I would have to say, LG, got to give a lot of credit to the Spurs fans. They showed up. They knew that it was a big game, and they were loud from the jump. They had the rally towels, and I think that they rallied around those rally towels. And Victor Wembanyama, who big story was he gets ejected from Game 4, and he comes in, and I honestly thought that he was going to be on track for a 40 or 50-point game. Spurs didn't need that out of him, but he really was. I guess what's the math there? 18 first quarter points. So if he had replicated that output over the course of the next, 4 quarters, should he needed to, he would have been just shy of 60.
That's true. Yeah. First 20 and 10 first half for a Spurs in the playoffs since Tim Duncan did it in 2002. So, yeah, and you mentioned the noise in the Frost Bank Center. By far the loudest game all season and all playoffs long. My ears are bleeding. It was so loud. I was up in the balcony section for most of the game, and those fans up there take it to another notch as far as screaming and yelling. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, and you're also catching the sound bouncing off of the ceiling right there on that level. So that also plays into effect. But Wemby in that first quarter played 9 minutes, goes 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3 from behind the three-point line, 4 or 5 from the free throw line, and he also grabbed 6 rebounds, had an assist, 1 turnover, and that was about it. He was a plus 13. The only real blemish was probably that turnover and a missed free throw because on a reckless closeout, he had 3 flagrant foul free throws that awarded the ball back to the Spurs. And Anthony Edwards said it after the game that the Spurs, when Wemby gets going like that and they get him involved, sometimes all you have to do is pray he misses because they tried to get physical with him. I thought that the whistle was much more lenient towards what the sport of basketball should look like.
The best officiated game of the series by far.
Yes, very, very much agree with that. I thought that they handled it very well. There were obviously some.
There were some bad calls.
There were some things that I guess you could critique them on. No one's going to be perfect, but exactly, if I would say at no point did I feel like the officiating was dictating the game. So the Spurs really did need that to come out and start. De'Aaron Fox also was questionable coming into the game. He finished with 7 first quarter points, so he set the tone early, and the Spurs get 28 points from only 3 players. Julian Champagnie was the only other starter to score in that first quarter, and the Spurs end up winning that first quarter 34-30. but they were up 24-9 when Wemby left the game. So those non-Wemby minutes, the Timberwolves saw a chance to get back into it. And then in the second quarter, the Spurs ended up winning that quarter 25-17. And when the Spurs sort of had that lead going into halftime, you felt pretty good. You felt pretty confident that the Spurs were finding their rhythm and showing that they can beat this Minnesota team with the various ways that they had. But it was the points in the paint that really made the big difference. The final scoring in the paint, the Spurs drop a playoff high for San Antonio, 68 points in the paint. And they also limit Minnesota to only 36 points in the paint. That's just the power of Victor Wembanyama, because the Timberwolves led the playoffs in point paint differential going into this series. So that was something that the Spurs probably wanted to win, was the battle in the paint. They do that. And then on top of that, they play pretty good defense on the perimeter as they limit the Minnesota Timberwolves to 9 of 33 shooting from the field. And I think the biggest adjustment from the games in Minnesota to the game in San Antonio were second chance points. The Timberwolves were limited to only 10 offensive rebounds, and then after that, on those 10 offensive rebounds, only scored 12 points in the second chance. And in Minnesota, that was in the 20s in the offensive rebound. So we're literally talking, well, not 20s, the teens, I should say. And the points on second chance was in the 20s and 30 in game 3. So the Spurs do a really good job of fixing one of the biggest issues in this series in terms of their matchups of allowing too many rebounds. But I think that sometimes talking head like myself can only talk so much. You guys are really interested in hearing what somebody like Mitch Johnson had to say in the post game, and the Spurs going up 3-2. Here is what Mitch Johnson had to say after the win last night.
Mitch, you guys came out of the locker room at halftime pretty slow, sluggish. What triggered that outburst there in the third?
I'm not sure, Tommy. We tried. I don't know. I got to watch the film back. I thought that we played with appropriate, which is hard to do, as we've learned in the first 10 games. I thought we played with the appropriate fear, discipline, execution, physicality, poise. And I thought we had it from an array of people tonight, and it was really good to see. And we needed everybody because at different moments of the game, different guys stepped up.
One of those guys obviously was Keldon, best game of the playoffs. What did you see from him?
As simple as it sounds, it just felt like he was being himself. He wasn't trying to do something or trying to be anything. He just played with energy. And as he's shown in his career, and most specifically this year, when he plays with that type of energy, the basketball finds him. He's in the middle of plays. He's in, gang rebound situations where there's multiple people, and he's a catalyst for that energy and that physicality and that dynamic of our team, and we need it.
Devin told us at shoot-around this morning that he expected to see upset Vic tonight coming out. Was that kind of an example of what upset Vic looks like, or at least determined Vic?
Yeah, I don't know what the word was. I think the one thing the one word I'd like to use just mature. I think there was a lot that's happened in the last 48 hours in the last game, and I think how that young man came out tonight and played in a variety of ways, in a variety of situations, not just in terms of his production, was extremely mature.
And then defensively, start to finish, what did you think about the performance? Another sub-100-point game in the playoffs for you guys.
I thought we did a good job of having resistance early in the clock. They've shown as the series got on, they've tried to play faster at times, and they're tough when they get downhill. And I think when we've had better starting spots, more connectivity at the start of possessions, I think it's really helped us be on a string and be organized and connected defensively. And that helps you out when they have so many guys that get downhill and thrive at getting momentum in space.
Were De'Aaron and Dylan close to not playing, or was it a tough call at all? Or
it was close because I didn't know when I walked in the building if they were going to play. It was real. And I thought for that young rookie and De'Aaron, who hardly misses games ever, for those two guys to have performances like that was as strong as a statement for us in that locker room as victors. Different circumstances and obviously different attention from the external, which we understand, but for what those two guys did and when we know where they're at and what we needed, it's a big-time performance.
This series from both sides where leads are built and leads evaporate and it turns into a dogfight. I think y'all entered the fourth quarter up 18 and it never dropped below 11, went up as many as 29. What did you make of their response and not letting that lead slip away or, any part of the game get away from them?
Yeah, we had a few times where, and some of their runs also felt like we might have just missed a shot or two and it snowballed a little bit and we just didn't stay with it quite enough. And then whether they made a couple shots because they're a hell of a team and they're going to make shots, or we allowed it to seep in just even a little bit. That's how fast leads can evaporate. I thought we had a couple times tonight where we kind of drew the line and said enough was enough, whatever that meant. Sometimes that's making a shot. Sometimes that's setting the right screen. Sometimes that's blocking your guy out so your teammate can get a rebound. But there's a lot of little things that go into stopping runs and starting runs. And I think the more that we continue to commit to all of that, it'll really help us out.
Spurs do a great job there responding to runs, as Mitch Johnson said. There were times where I thought that the Timberwolves were getting out and running, and like Mitch said, just sort of a couple stretches where the Spurs weren't getting shots to fall, and it seemed like Minnesota took advantage of that by trying to push the pace and see if they could beat the Spurs shot blockers down the court, as Victor Wembanyama only finished with 3 blocks, but he altered many more. And Luke Cornett also came in those non-Wemby minutes, played 11 minutes and had 1 block. But I noticed that he started with, or he forced several U-turns or deciding not to shoot shots at the rim just because Luke Cornett is also a great shot blocker in himself.
As we like to call it, nopes.
Yeah, nope. Don't even think about it. Those kinds of shots that were not put up last night because of the presence of Luke Cornett and Victor Wembanyama. And a big part why the Spurs hold the Timberwolves to only 36 points in the paint, only 38% shooting from the field overall. The biggest thing is that the Spurs limit the three-point shooting because that could have helped Minnesota maybe find some momentum, but they only knocked down 9 of their 33 attempts. Spurs not much better, but like I was saying to somebody that I was talking to about this, and I might have said it on the air. I say so many things on the air, I forget what I say exactly, but 33% shooting is efficient enough that you can say that, hey, if we make 1 of every 3 3-pointers, that's better than making 50% of our 2-pointers. So the Spurs are a bit more than effective from behind the 3-point line at 34.4% as a team, 11 of 32. And the only 2 games that the Spurs lost in this series, they were outshot from behind the 3-point line and shot under 30%. A lot of Spurs fans feel like this should have been the closeout game. I understand, whether it be because Julian Champagnie just missed a game-winning 3, and that was part of a poor shooting night from the Spurs in Game 1, where the Spurs, there was a report that Steph and Wemby were laughing after Game 1 when the Spurs lost because they played as poorly as they probably could have and should have still won with that game-winning 3 in the air. Take that shot 9 out of 10 times. Julian Champagnie probably hits that shot 4 or 5 times out of 10, and just one of those times did not go in. The Spurs lose that first game, and then obviously with Victor Wembanyama being ejected in Game 4 in Minnesota, you feel like the Spurs probably could have won that game if Wemby were able to play in the entirety of it, but instead Wemby comes out like a caged lion, scores 18 points in the first half, and there will be plenty more Spurs talk throughout this broadcast this morning. We are celebrating the Spurs going up 3-2 in the Western Conference Semifinals, one game away from punching their ticket into the Western Conference Finals in that almost destined date with the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Of course, we got to talk about all the other action happening in the NBA playoffs, and we shift gears to college baseball. It was a big night at the Bird Bath on the campus of UTSA last night. If you were caught up in what was happening at the Frost Bank Center, you missed some fireworks on both social media and on the baseball diamond last night in San Antonio, what was the second biggest game in the city of San Antonio between UTSA and Texas State. We get into all of that here on the starting lineup. Hope you guys are having a good Wednesday morning.
Smokey the Bear.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com, and remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
He didn't make the team, but he's in our starting lineup. Back to Carl Schoening.
It is the starting lineup on Ticket 760, a Wednesday morning edition, victorious game morning for the Spurs as they pull off the win 126-97 in Game 5 of the Western Conference Semifinals, take a 3-2 lead heading back to Minnesota with a chance to punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals. From the studios at an undisclosed location in San Antonio, Texas, we are in LG Studios. You can reach out to me on Twitter, though. You can find me there at OnAirCarl. That is Carl with a K, at OnAirKarl. DJ LG making us sound good. He is at DJLG210. How else can they get involved in the show, LG?
You can follow the show at TSL760 on X. You can also follow us on all the other social medias at Starting Lineup Live. We are streaming live on YouTube right now. If you want to jump into the comments, hit that subscribe button for us. We're trying to build our YouTube audience up. Hit that like button, please. We appreciate everybody there. And if you feel like supporting this show financially, you can buy ads from us. Hit us up at thestartinglineup@gmail.com, or you can just simply tip us by buying us some caffeine at buymeacoffee.com/thestartinglineup. We take all proceeds and proceed to make this show a better thing for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for mentioning the caffeine. I wake up around 4 a.m., and it was very dangerous for me, LG. You noticed how I cut it close this morning.
That's true.
And that's because I decided I wanted to try and wake up at 4:15, and I did this dangerous thing subconsciously. I didn't even realize that I did it until the second alarm went off, because I obviously set multiple alarms. I grabbed the phone, turned it off, and brought the phone in back to bed with me, and I almost fell back asleep. And the next thing you know, it would have been like 8:05, and I had 10 missed calls from you. So dangerous. I need to find multiple ways to wake myself up in the morning. So the caffeine is one of those things. I move on from coffee to energy drinks, but Buy Me an Energy Drink doesn't have the same roll off the tongue as Buy Me a Coffee. Either which way, we appreciate y'all, even if you're supporting the show for free by watching us, listening to us on the radio, all that good stuff. Spurs come away with that win last night, and we got a special treat on the Spurs postgame show on the Spurs radio network last night. Steph Castle joined Dan Weiss, and Steph is one of these guys that I think he had a lot of promise, but nobody expected him to be this borderline all-star, definitely all-star caliber player for the Spurs in his second season. And the things that he just does on the basketball court sometimes remind me of Manu Ginobili. He plays with a high defensive intensity. Ginobili! Yes, sir. Yeah, he's athletic. He makes some really good passes. Sometimes they're just turnovers, and it's like you saw what he was thinking there, but he just didn't quite see what was happening. Maybe the occasional telegraph of a pass, such as when he was trying to get Victor Wembanyama involved in the third quarter after a little run from the Timberwolves. Right idea on a play that was an alley-oop, but everybody in the building knew that he was trying to get it to Victor Wembanyama, and it was slapped away. But on the whole, you really have to feel like Steph Castle is one of the key reasons the Spurs have been so good this year. He makes the other part of Area 51 with Wembanyama. He wears that number 5, and he finishes in 27 minutes last night with 17 points on 8 of 11 shooting from the field. 0 for 1 from 3. And the big thing about that is he's sort of been forced to be a three-point shooter a lot during these playoffs, and he's proven that he can be a three-point shooter, and that's not a good strategy because in the postseason, he is shooting 39% from 3, which is a big jump from just barely being effective at 33% from 3. But it's one of those things where he stepped up to the occasion. In this game, the Timberwolves decided to play him straight up, so he decided to drive to the basket a good bit more. 5 assists. He does have 4 turnovers, which is something you have to live with, but he gets the ball back plenty with 3 stocks, 2 steals, and a block. And Steph Castle had a chance to talk to him with Dan Weiss on the Spurs postgame last night. Let's hear what Steph had to say after the game.
We were just talking about Dylan Harper, and I mean, it's hard to believe this kid's 20 years old, and you watch him all season, you watch him in practice, and he just comes up with big play after big play in these playoffs.
Yeah, Dale's just super poised. I mean, he does whatever he can on the court to help us win. He does the little things, and I think he just lets his talent just ride. When we open up the court, the guys that we have on the court spacing with him, I mean, the world is really his. You know, he makes great decisions with how young he is now. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what the next, 15 years playing alongside him is going to look like.
It's going to be a lot of fun, I can tell you that. We also started up here talking about how Victor set the tone, as we kind of expected he would tonight. 18 points in that first quarter. But then the rest of you guys kind of came along for the ride, and this looked a lot like Spurs basketball tonight.
Yeah, I mean, with everything that's been going on for the past, 48 hours, us losing Game 4, I mean, we didn't expect anything less from Vic. I mean, he's our leader, and I think that's just, what his character has shown. I mean, since I've met him, so, I mean, I didn't really expect anything different from him coming out.
It was 61-all, 7 minutes to go in the third quarter, and then you and the defense took over as you guys ended up outscoring Minnesota by 29 points over the final 19 minutes of the ball game. What changed once the game got tied?
I think we just didn't panic. I mean, they're a good team. We know that they're going to go on runs. I mean, we just have to find a way to, sustain their run and get back to what we do on defense, not allowing them to get second chance points and get out and run, and then just play free, trust each other, play together, play fast. And I feel like those moments are when we're playing our best.
Yeah, you guys certainly, there was a point of emphasis tonight on limiting their offensive rebounding and their second chance points. They only had 2 offensive rebounds at the half tonight. You guys did a phenomenal job on the boards.
Yeah, it was definitely an emphasis coming into really every game with them. But I feel like tonight we hit it as hard as we could tonight. So,
how hard is a closeout game going to be for this group in Minnesota?
It's going to be tough. I mean, a closeout game anywhere is tough. I mean, if we were at home, a closeout game would be tough. So, playing against a team like this, they play with a lot of pride, and them being at home, it's going to be tough to close them out. But I think we're ready for it.
What has this ride been like for you, your first run through the postseason, the steps you've taken, what you've learned playing possession by possession? What has been the experience like for you so far in the playoffs?
It's been fun. I've had good games this playoffs. I've had bad games this playoffs, but just being able to learn from everyone and just get the experience from it. Obviously, our playoff run is not over, so more fun is to come. But yeah, just being able to learn from every game and understand that we're good enough to where we don't have to force anything on offense. We could just play how we've been playing all season to put ourselves in this position, and we'll be fine.
Well, it's been a lot of fun watching you, watching your growth, and watching the rest of the team's growth as well. Congrats on the win, Steph. We'll see you Friday night in the Twin Cities.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was Steph Castle talking to Dan Weiss after the Spurs game last night when the Spurs came away with the win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, 126-97. Take a 3-2 series lead, have a chance to win the series in Minnesota in Game 6 on Friday. So the first 2-day break in the series comes between Game 5 and Game 6. And that interview with Steph started with the conversation around Dylan Harper. And Dylan Harper is somebody who he exceeds expectations, and it's not surprising at this point. He started off as one of the Spurs' best players the moment he stepped onto the court. And when he left the rotation with a calf strain, I think 6 games into his career, it was a noticeable dip in just Spurs production. It went from being a question mark at the backup point guard position to an exclamation point. And I think one of the big defining plays is there was a point, it was at the start of the fourth quarter when the game was only a 15-point game. Dylan Harper took it coast to coast from the backcourt, shift gears into the front court, had a big slam, and that was when I kind of got the inkling, this game's over, we could wrap it up, and eventually the Spurs were able to get some of the guys on the bench opportunities to get into the Western Conference Semifinals, just a few minutes from both Jordan McLaughlin, Kelly Olynyk, Bismack Biyombo, Lindy Waters, and Carter Bryant also finished the game. So good for all of those guys to get into the game. That means the Spurs came away with the big victory that they did, 29-point win, and the Spurs also got to rest a little there at the end. We talk a lot of Spurs on this morning show, and that'll continue, but I do need to shift gears, talk a little bit about UTSA baseball. They're having a phenomenal season. It continued last night. There was a bunch of activity on Twitter before the game, and then there was a bunch of activity on Twitter after the game. Plenty going on at the Bird Bath in the second biggest game in San Antonio last night. We dive into it when we come back on the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
On May 13th, 1999, the Spurs bested the Minnesota Timberwolves 85-71. Game 3 of their Western Conference first-round matchup at Target Center to take a 2-1 lead in their best-of-5 series. Avery Johnson paced the attack with 24 points on 12 of 15 shooting, while David Robinson flirted with a triple-double with 17 points, 18 rebounds, and 7 assists. Tim Duncan added 15 points, 7 boards, 7 dimes, and 5 blocked shots. That's today's Spurs Flashback. I'm Dan Weiss.
Triumph. The Rock and Roll Machine Reloaded Tour. May 21st at Frost Bank Center. Triumph 50th Anniversary. Live. Special guest. April Wine. Get tickets now at LiveNation.com. Don't miss Triumph Live.
If you're looking for a new way to burn calories, get some simple movement in, or just relax, I have to tell you about Black Swan Yoga San Antonio. There are 3 Black Swan Yoga studios in San Antonio at Downtown, the Vineyard, and newly opened in Alamo Ranch. Try their fire and ice for a quick workout followed by a relaxing stretch, or get a combination of cardio and strength training in their new Swan Sculpt classes. Black Swan Yoga is a donation-based studio, so no need to sign a membership or pay an expensive drop-in fee. Just swing by and give yoga a try. Creating content to promote your brand is a 24/7 hustle these days. If you're looking for someone to professionally provide videos, photos, and more, reach out for a free consultation. Hi, I'm Carl Schoening, and I'm more than just the host of the starting lineup. I'm an expert in production work. I offer professional live streaming, podcast recording, photos, videos, social media strategy, and more. To learn more, shoot me an email at carlschoeningmedia@gmail.com or check out my work and shoot me a DM on Instagram at OnAirCarl. That's Carl with a K. Let's level up your content together.
Almost 90 years ago, Academy Sports and Outdoors was born right here in Texas. So we know a thing or two about a thing or two. Like beans don't belong in chili. It's called a feeder road. And how far really means how long. We've been your neighbor for generations. That's why we're adding Texas-sized deals across the store, only in Texas. If you happen to find a better price at a competitor, we'll beat it by 5%. Academy. Fun can't lose.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating.
Keep celebrating when you bundle and save with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
For more information about contests on this station, go to ticket760.com/rules.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
Got a DWI? Don't wait. What you do next matters. Not all classes are accepted by Texas courts. Before you pay, make sure it's state approved and live. Alamo Center has helped Texans for over 30 years complete their court-ordered DWI and drug education classes live and instructor-led. No pre-recorded videos. Real instructors, real support. Classes fill up fast. Secure your spot today. Speak to a live person now. Call 210-824-5537 or visit alamocenter.org. Alamo Center. The road back starts here.
Right now, you're one of thousands tuned into this station. Locked in, fired up, and ready to talk Spurs, Cowboys, and everything in between. That's the unbeatable power of live radio. It reaches you instantly, and you can't scroll past it. Plus, we're streaming and growing on social media. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this passionate audience. And when you join us, you get professional social media production included. Content created for your business. Shoot us an email right now at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
Your ticket for the best Spurs talk. Back to the starting lineup.
It is the starting lineup on Ticket 760. I'm Carl Schoening. Along with me in the starting lineup this morning is LG, and we are the best Spurs talk in San Antonio, so we appreciate you sticking with us through the first two segments where we talk Spurs, but we got to talk other things, LG, and you know, something that's near and dear to both your and my heart is UTSA baseball. We've spent a lot of time out there at the Birdbath Roadrunner Field on the campus of UTSA.
This is true.
Yeah. And Pat Hallmark has a ball club almost every year. He is a great coach. He might be the best coach in college baseball that isn't at a big time college baseball program. And part of that's because he loves the city of San Antonio. He has a family here. He was at UIW right before UTSA, so he has pretty much rooted himself into San Antonio over the better part of the last decade. And he has made UTSA a brand name in college baseball. They win the American Athletic Conference last year in the regular season, and they also go on to win the Austin Regional. They fall in the Super Regional to UCLA last year, and they build on that heading into their final conference weekend atop of the American Athletic Conference with a 16-8 conference record and overall record of 35-17. They are 20-5 at home at the Birdbath, and they picked up a big win last night against the Texas State Bobcats. They run rule Texas State 19-4 as the party got started early with 8 runs in the first inning for UTSA. They tacked on 3 more in the second, 5 in the third, 3 in the fourth, and they decide that they don't need to score any runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th to run rule the Bobcats. End up winning by 15 with 19 runs on 10 hits and 4 Texas State errors. So a couple things about the discourse of this game, and I need to, I guess, be careful because I don't know the full story, and I think social media assumed the full story, LG. There was some clerical error somewhere along the way that the broadcast was not going to be aired on ESPN Plus, where they air the games. And this came out during the day, and both of these teams are pretty good. I'm just going to quickly look up the Texas State baseball record in a second, but they're in a conversation to be one of the best teams in the Sun Belt on their way out. So the fact that this game is just Texas State versus UTSA is one of those things where it needs to be broadcast because it's such a big rivalry game. So,
well, don't they broadcast every game?
Almost every game.
Okay.
There's probably a couple limitations here and there, especially early on in the basketball season overlapping with the baseball season.
Gotcha.
But Texas State, they are 31-22 overall, and the first loss of the season to UTSA was from Texas State in San Marcos. So this was a huge game to see if this would be a sweep for Texas State in this I-35 rivalry, a series that probably should still be a conference series, but obviously hasn't been a conference series since both teams were in the WAC around, I think 2011 was the last year of the 2011-2012 was this last year that these two teams were in the same conference. Yet baseball keeps the tradition of the rivalry going every single year. They play a home and home, very natural, easy decision. And these fan bases do not like each other. Yet they united to say that it was ridiculous that the game was not being streamed. I think the initial report that I saw some fans were saying was the reasoning was that it was finals week. However, that's not necessarily what I guess could have happened. But either way, the fan bases from both Texas State and UTSA seem to unite before the game to sort of pressure UTSA or just in general the powers that be to get a broadcast rolling. And lo and behold, Mike Capps decides that he's going to be there anyway. He calls the game solo last night because he just wanted to see the game himself, and luckily they're able to gather a camera crew and get enough crew in the production studio, and they are able to televise UTSA coming away with that big 15-run victory in the I-35 rivalry. And then after the game, there was a scuffle that went a little viral between Pat Hallmark and his coaching staff and the Texas State coaching staff. And there were plenty of social media videos from people's phones. And one of the things that you saw was Pat Hallmark, who is one of the most fiery coaches you will ever watch, was just getting in the face of everybody. I do want to pull up the quote here in a second, but Pat Hallmark essentially was saying that he was confronted about something that happened during the game. Apparently, this is just what I've been able to piece together from the various outlets of people that were at the game and got quotes. But there was a freshman for Texas State who hit his first home run, and despite the score, he bat flipped for the celebration, if you will. And the next time he came up to the plate, apparently he got pitched around the head area. And I think they were trying to see if that was maybe intentional, and the conversation turned a little bit testy. And I'd like to say that former sports editor for the Pisano, Rylan, he doesn't have his last name on his social media, did still go out there and get a quote from Pat Hallmark. And the quote was from Coach Hallmark: "I don't know what happened with Hubbard." I suppose that's the freshman. I guess they didn't like it. They were talking about it, and their assistant coach put his hands on me, so I put my hands back on him. I hope the video is available so everyone can see he put his hands on me first. I'm not going to let him put his hands on me. I don't even know the assistant for Texas State's name. You can print that too. I don't even know his name, but he put his hands on me, and I'm going to defend myself. Print it all. We're putting it out over radio as well. There was a Texas State player from the dugout yelling at Pat Hallmark to meet me in the parking lot. You do not want to meet Pat Hallmark, especially when he is mad in the parking lot. And the fact that the Bobcat player said that and some of the things that got out, not very well representative of Texas State University. I'm sure that there will be conversations to be had about the activity in the dugout and the communication there. But the fact that this game was broadcast, I need to go back and watch the end of the stream to see if there's any evidence that exonerates Pat Hallmark. As he said, I believe Pat. He's a very honest and good guy and extremely fiery coach. But the fact that this ended up being fireworks for the Roadrunners in the game and fireworks after the game, and one of the more unique things, because when they finally announced on Twitter that there was going to be a broadcast, both fan bases united, thinking that they were the ones and the reasons that the game got scheduled. But
would you say they cyberbullied UTSA into getting the stream on?
That's exactly what happened. A lot
the power of social media.
Yeah, a lot of the comments. This is I think it was a clerical error. Somewhere along the way, ESPN did not have the game listed for whatever reason, and that seemed to be a deciding factor that the Roadrunners might not be able to get the game going. I suppose once the clerical issue was discovered, the powers that be, whoever might have been involved, were able to string together a game. It was not, as far as I understand, the reasoning of some people were putting out there that it was finals week, because that doesn't matter. Finals week still means that games need to be played, but it was something that these are two fan bases that don't really like each other. They chirp at each other on Twitter pretty regularly, even if they're not playing each other. So the fact that they were playing each other and there was some back and forth discourse over social media, and then the way the game ended with all of the video of the confrontation at home plate between the coaches and the players, it's just good old-fashioned rivalry at the college level, and I love it. And we're going to get into a little bit more about that later in the show about college rivalries, because Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU, and he had some things to say that Ole Miss didn't take so well. And then Steve Sarkisian comes out here and fires a stray shot at Ole Miss as well to add to that fire. But college sports, there's just nothing quite like it. And last night, if you weren't paying attention to the Spurs game, I certainly hope you were paying attention to the UTSA Texas State game, because we had two great sporting events in San Antonio happen. Both San Antonio teams came with blowout wins. But LG, I know you might feel a little bit different, but I know that we both went to Texas State and graduated from Texas State.
True.
When it comes to the Texas State UTSA rivalry, it's weird. I went to Texas State to advance my sports broadcasting career, and I got a great, semi-start, if you will, at KTSW. You and I both pretty much started at KTSW as, our first radio gigs. As far as I know, that was your first radio gig.
Second?
Okay. Yeah, but the advancement and opportunities that UTSA gave me were arguably better in my broadcasting career journey. And when this rivalry gets together, I almost just hope for a tie, because I enjoy both teams so much. San Marcos is probably my second home after my hometown, Austin. And San Antonio feels like another second home, because I've pretty much grew up down here in San Antonio going to Spurs games all the time. And then I do live here now in San Antonio. But the fact that this was just such a fun evening for Texas State and UTSA fans to get together. I'm sure the Bobcat fans weren't too happy about the game, but it was a fun discourse on social media. The Bobcats do drop this one, and their season is sort of on a little bit of a downward spiral while UTSA bounces back from their worst week of the season. They went 1-3. They lost their first conference series over the weekend to Memphis, and now they are trying to bounce back with their final home game. So if you have not seen UTSA all spring long like I have not seen them, they do have 3 games starting with UAB on Thursday. It's a 3-game series against UAB. 6 o'clock first pitch on Thursday night, and then a 6 o'clock first pitch on Friday night. I'll have the Spurs on Friday night, but I will try and figure out what I will be doing. Maybe I'll even go to Saturday at 11 o'clock. But your last chance to see these Roadrunners at Roadrunner Field. Oh, on top of all that, LG, the Bobcats and the Roadrunners set a new attendance record at UTSA last night. So there's so many fun things happening out there at UTSA, and the baseball team is probably the biggest one. And happy that so many people say that they are interested in the live streams, as people who, you and I put those live streams together for a full season, and it was a lot of fun out there for UTSA to come away with the 15-run victory, run rule the Bobcats, and have some social media discourse that brings attention to the programs on social media as well. Starting lineup, hour 1 wraps up when we come back. We'll cap it off with a little bit more Spurs talk heading into the second hour as well here on the starting lineup. If you're not digging the content you created on your phone, maybe it's time to upgrade to a content specialist who can make your video sharp and your audio clear. Hi, I'm Carl Schoening, and I'm more than just the host of The Starting Lineup. I'm an expert in production work. I offer social media content creation to help your brand grow online using professional photo, video, and audio equipment. To learn more, shoot me an email at carlschoeningmedia@gmail.com or check out my work and shoot me a DM on Instagram at OnAirCarl. That's Carl with a K. Let's level up your content together. Spurs fans, it's playoff time in San Antonio. Get in the spirit with Swish, a new Spurs-themed song produced by War Chief featuring Troy Matthews, Big Roddy, and Ice Villa. The perfect soundtrack for this playoff run.
Watch for Wimby in the middle as he's leading all the blocks, giving go for Sell Barnes as they beat the shot clock.
Streaming now on all platforms. Swish by the War Chief. And as always, go Spurs go.
How was your break?
It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive.
That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for gas with the free Upside app.
Upside?
Yes, Upside. It's the free app that gives you cash back just for buying the gas you're already buying. So even with the rising gas prices, I'll never have to limit how much I drive.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Just last year, I made over $200 with the Upside app.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app right now.
Download the free Upside app to earn cash back on the gas you're already buying. Use promo code FUTURE25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FUTURE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill-up. That's FUTURE25.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Proud to make Pops proud. Proud to be Proud Pops.
I'm Brandon Rackler, co-founder of Proud Pops Plumbing, Air, and Electric.
And I'm Jacob Magby, the other co-founder and also co-brother.
With air conditioning season here already, homeowners are wondering if that old AC that barely made it through last summer is ready to handle this summer.
But no one wants to buy a new AC if the old one can be fixed up. Good as new.
As Pops used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
To be fair, quite a lot of people say that.
Yeah, but when Pop said it, he meant don't pressure people into an expensive replacement when the AC they have still has a few good years left in the hands of the right serviceman.
Call Proud Pops and we'll assess the situation and give you a Pops proof report with a plethora of pictures that clearly show what needs to be done.
As Pops used to say, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Literally everyone says a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Proud to make Pops proud. Proud to be Proud Pops.
Give us a call and we'll pop in.
Visit proudpops.com.
Lighting has a bigger impact on your home than you might think. I'm George Salinas with Absolute Power Electrical Contractors. From sleek recessed lighting to modern LED upgrades, we transform your home's interior into something brighter, safer, and more energy efficient. We install lighting that fits how you live today. Call 210-904-1521 or visit absolute-pwr.com to schedule your free estimate. Absolute Power Electrical Contractors, at your service.
Skip this. Tap that red talkback mic on the iHeartRadio app while listening to your favorite station.
You guys rock.
Instant feedback. And the best feature, if you mess up,
hopefully I'm sending these messages correctly.
Do it again. Leave a talkback now on the free iHeartRadio app.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches. The softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hey, San Antonio sports fans. Imagine your business scoring big with thousands of passionate listeners who are already fired up about local sports. Right now, you're one of thousands tuned in to Ticket 760. This is the raw power of live radio. Immediate, loyal, and impossible to scroll past. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this engaged audience. Sponsors also get professional social media production included. Shoot us an email at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
He bleeds silver and black. Back to Carl Schoening in the starting lineup.
Yes, sir. Starting lineup on a victorious Wednesday morning for the San Antonio Spurs. They knock off the Minnesota Timberwolves 126-97 in Game 5. A must-win is what we were calling it yesterday, LG. And the San Antonio Spurs must win by a mile indeed, as they did not have to worry about that game in the fourth quarter. The Timberwolves made a valiant effort, but the Spurs ended up winning by 29. Victor Wembanyama started off hot with 18 points, finished with a game-high 27, and the Spurs can close it out and punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals in Game 6. That'll be Friday night, and I want to see what the official start time is here, because I feel like we've had a couple different changes on the start time. It is 8:30.
Yep.
I got an email this morning from my boss that said it was 7:30, and I'm trying to figure out what time zone must be 7:30. So I need to make sure my boss knows that it is
mountain time, maybe?
Yeah. Like Arizona, maybe. That was a little weird. But you know, coming into this break, at the end of the last break, I should say, coming into this segment, you heard that you could be a sponsor on the show. I do want to give a shout out to this week's new sponsor, the War Chief, as he wanted to promote his song Swish, Go Spurs Go. It is a great Spurs song, pays some homage to some of the older Spurs as well as promoting the current Spurs. Get hyped for that one on your way to watching Game 6 or whether that's, on any platform. It's on all streaming platforms. I'm weird. I use YouTube Music, but it's definitely on Spotify if you're a Spotify person like most of the people. Hour 2, we have plenty of Spurs talk coming up. We will hear from De'Aaron Fox on the other side of this break, and we will talk a little bit more about the Spurs' success to knocking off the Timberwolves, plus some fun around the NCAA as Ole Miss catching some strays from Sark and Lane Kiffin, and a little bit more as there's some other sad news we want to get into, but I do want to touch on here on the starting lineup. Hour 2 coming up next. Right now, you're one of thousands tuned into this station. Locked in, fired up, and ready to talk Spurs, Cowboys, and everything in between. That's the unbeatable power of live radio. It reaches you instantly, and you can't scroll past it. Plus, we're streaming and growing on social media. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this passionate audience. And when you join us, you get professional social media production included. Content created for your business. Shoot us an email right now at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
This is the year you finally get the yard you deserve. I'm talking tropical retreat, outdoor hangout, the place everyone wants to be. Moon Valley Nurseries does it all. Design, delivery, and they'll even plant for free. Not to mention, they can transform your entire yard in as little as 1 day.
1 day?
Yeah, 1 day. Your new favorite room? Maybe outside, and it's closer than you think. So if you're ready to enjoy your yard before summer, call Moon Valley Nurseries or go online today to get started.
We never have to
worry about hard water in our home thanks to the Connecticut of San Antonio Quality Water Softener. Get quality water in your home with Connecticut of San Antonio. Call them now at 210-656-PURE or visit ConnecticutSA.com.
I know what you want. A great experience when getting your new vehicle. Hassle-free and upfront pricing, and we promise that at World Car Hyundai. Right now, get 0% financing on 2026 Hyundai Tucsons and Santa Fe's, plus no payments for 90 days. We have low rates on Elantras and Palisades, too. Plus, every new vehicle comes with America's Best 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and Hyundai Owner's Assurance. Shop online at World Car Hyundai North or WorldCarHyundaiSouth.com and experience the difference for yourself. World Car, for a lifetime.
With approved credit through HMF.
In this edition of the Marketer's Report, Monica Tam, head of brand media for DoorDash, discusses the power of audio influencers.
I think when you're tapping into voices like hosts and podcasters, you're being able to be part of that community, but in a very authentic way.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia connects marketers to the audiences, live conversations, and trusted influencers you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartAdvertising.com.
If you love yoga and want to join a welcoming community in San Antonio of fellow yogis, you should check out Black Swan Yoga San Antonio. I'm Carl Schoening, and practicing yoga is a daily must for me, and if you're into yoga like I am, then you'll love Black Swan Yoga San Antonio. Some days I want to get a workout in with their power classes, and some days I relax by taking their chill classes. Classes start weekdays at 6 a.m. and go until 8:30 p.m. Follow them on Instagram at Black Swan Yoga San Antonio to get their daily class schedule.
Pantalones Organic Tequila. Because tequila is fun. Pantalones.
This is Ticket 760, KTKR San Antonio, your home for sports. Guaranteed human. Make us the #1 preset in your car and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. This is the starting lineup. Here's your host, Carl Schoening.
Welcome into hour 2 of the starting lineup. I'm Carl Schoening, starting at your host and the voice coming through your speakers. LG starting with me as our producer, as he is making sure we look good on YouTube, sound good over the radio. There's a lot going on today on a Wednesday edition. The Pistons need a big bounce-back win. Ole Miss catches strays, and there's a couple sad things I want to get into. But first, we start with a positive, a celebration. The Spurs come up with a win, 126-97 over the Minnesota Timberwolves, bouncing back from that Game 4 loss. The Spurs continue to be stellar after dropping a game. The Spurs have not lost consecutive games, LG, going back to, if you remember, if I'm not mistaken, I need to actually double check this. It was January 11th in Minnesota, and then they went to Oklahoma City and lost January 13th. And then that was one of the, if you've been following the Spurs all season, which I know you have, LG, you'll remember that Keldon Johnson and Victor Wembanyama shaved their heads.
Yeah, I remember.
And that was the last time the Spurs lost back-to-back games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good memory remembering the exact dates for those.
Yeah, well, this is sort of my obsessive
this
life.
Is your thing.
Yeah. yeah. If you guys have not picked up, I enjoy talking Spurs. I've been asked many times over the years to start a Spurs podcast, and I don't really know about starting podcasts. Like, I've done it several times, and I'm just not very good at consistently doing it. But, you know, being asked to do a radio show in San Antonio, there's no way I can't talk Spurs for the majority of the 2-hour slot that was given to me. But, you know, LG, the one thing that I think really stands out about this game that I would like to get across is I continue to want Victor Wembanyama to put up a video game numbers, if you will. Mm-hmm. And last night, he was on his way to that. He looked like he was not going to be stopped unless he decided to just stop himself. And 18 points in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, I believe he only had 21 points at halftime. I'm checking that right now, checking my curiosity. And then throughout the course of the game, that means, Wemby only had 3 points, so he had 21 points at the half. That means that he only finished with 6 more points after halftime. And it's one of those things where the Spurs didn't need him to do it, obviously, but the the early run, the Timberwolves started off on a 12-2 run in the third quarter to tie it up at 61, if I'm not mistaken on the math there. But either way, that 12-2 run, the Spurs said, hey, Wemby hasn't been getting involved. He hasn't put up a shot here on this run for the Timberwolves. It was maybe about 3 and some change into the second half. And the Spurs didn't necessarily force feed Wemby to force him to put up a lot of shots. It was just to get him to touch the ball. And he's one of these players, one of the few players in the sport where if he just touches the ball on a possession, even if he doesn't get the assist, he moves the defense so much that while he only had 6 points in that second half, the Spurs were able to eventually win by 29 and put in reserves that wouldn't play otherwise if it were a close game. That is something that it's hard to explain and quantify statistically, how when Victor Wembanyama, even when he's not doing stuff that shows up on the box score, is the reason that the box score ends up looking lopsided. And that was one of those things where last night I was really hoping after an 18-point start, Wemby would end up with somewhere in the 50s. Part of that would have meant that it was a close game, and the other part of that would have meant that Wemby put up shots. But in that third quarter, like I was talking about, Wemby only put up 2 field goal attempts, and one of them was an and one. So that just sort of goes to show you that the Spurs, who still win that quarter 32-26 after falling down 12-2 in their early goings of it, what's the quick math on that? That means that the Spurs ended up outscoring them 30-14 after that 12-2 start in the third quarter. That just means that Victor Wembanyama, despite only scoring 3 points in a quarter where the Spurs have that kind of run, are that dangerous of a team on top of it. Because sure, Wemby touching the ball makes the defense move and they have to adjust and figure that out. But then the other players have to execute and come away with those points that Wemby does not score, obviously, because that means that you have big quarters from players. So in that third quarter, the San Antonio Spurs were able to get 8 points from Steph Castle and 6 points from De'Aaron Fox and 8 points from Keldon Johnson, who I thought had his best game of the playoffs. Keldon in that third quarter, when the Spurs sort of needed that spark, got to the free throw line and made all 4 of his free throws, made both of his field goal attempts for his 8 points, and was a plus 15 out there with Dylan Harper, who also had 6 of his 12 points in that third quarter. And Harper would go on to score 10 points in the second half, not be needed in the second part of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and Keldon Johnson, a guy who I've called out the last few days on this show for not performing up to his 6-man standard. Before last night's game, it was Dylan Harper who was actually the 6th man off the bench for this series, but Keldon Johnson showed up, showed why he was the 6th man of the year, why he got that award, finished with 21 points to lead all bench scores on 8 of 11 shooting, had 2 offensive rebounds that were putbacks.
Yes.
One of them a dunk.
And that was, I appreciate you saying that, because I think Keldon would even admit that he wasn't playing to his standard. Naz Reid is an interesting matchup for him, where Reid is also a former 6th man of the year winner. They do a lot of similar things, and Reid is a bit more of a true 4, while Keldon is probably a tweener of a 3 and a 4. And he took it right at Naz Reid. I thought that last night Keldon came out there with the fire and intensity you need from your fire and intensity guy, and Keldon really did set the tone early and kept the tone going along with Victor Wembanyama in that second half. And yeah, Keldon was the X factor last night. And Dylan Harper also had a great second half that helped the Spurs out. But really, it goes back to Game 4. Wemby gets ejected, and Devin Vassell said at shoot-around Wemby was upset, and you know what upset Wemby can do on the basketball court. And he showed that in the first quarter. And the point that I'm getting to is the fact that Wemby, after scoring 18 points in his first shift on the court, proceeds to, or I guess the first 12 minutes on the court, I think he only played 9 in that first quarter. The Spurs only get 9 points out of him the rest of the way, the final 3 quarters, and they still win by 29. That's how good the Spurs team is. Part of it is De'Aaron Fox. Mitch Johnson said, we heard in the first hour from him, that he walked into the building not knowing if De'Aaron Fox was going to play, and De'Aaron Fox does proceed to be a big part of that early tone-setting first quarter with the Spurs. Finishes a plus 24 in 34 minutes, 18 points. He knocked down 6 of his 15 shots and all 5 of his free throws and 5 assists as well. De'Aaron Fox had a great offensive performance. I thought that he was a big motor for San Antonio's offense, and here's what he had to say after the game.
What went into y'all's response tonight, and what do you think went well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game of runs, and we know that. But I mean, that's kind of the thing that we've had with this team just throughout the course of this year. All 3 games we played them in the regular season, we had good leads, and then fourth quarter, like I said before the series started, we were, I think, minus like 39 or 40. So we knew that what we had to do, that we knew that, we're able to get these leads, and this happened throughout the course of the season with a lot of teams for us. We know that we have the talent to get leads on people, but whenever you become, you want to be a good team, you want to be a great team, you have to be able to, either extend those leads or just maintain those leads throughout the course of a game, especially when you get to the fourth quarter when, they up their physicality or they try to offensive rebound more, they try to play faster. And I think that's what we've done well, especially tonight.
De'Aaron, the Timberwolves impose a lot of physicality on you throughout the series. How do you, as a team, balance emotional discipline in real time and still staying composed without taking the edge away of who you guys are as players?
You just got to be ready. I think, in the games that we've won, I think we've been able to hit first. We know what type of team that they are. It's not like, doing anything dirty or anything like that, but just trying to keep them out of the paint, keep them off the offensive glass. And that's what we did extremely well, I think, tonight. I think before tonight, they were averaging like 20, 25 second chance points. And that was one of the key things that we needed to take away their offensive rebounds. And I think we did an extremely good job at that tonight.
Darren, Mitch said a little while ago that there was a point in the second half where you all essentially said, we're putting our foot down and enough is enough. Is that a characteristic that you've seen from this team, not just in the regular season, but as the postseason has continued?
Yeah, like I said, we know that we have the talent to go on these runs and get up on teams. And when you become a good team, it's when you can put teams away. And we saw that, we know that they're going to fight back, and they did that at the beginning of the half. But we were able to answer that. We answered that call whenever it was made. And once we got back up, we never looked back. And that's the team that we want to be. We don't want to, you get up 15, and the other team's like, oh, they'll let us back in the game at some point. You want to be, when you get up 15, if they get it to 10, you want to get it back to 15, get it up to 20. Get it up to 23, and that's what we were able to do, and just try to wear on teams.
De'Aaron, we might have already passed this point of the series, but are we at the point where the adjustments are pretty much minimal in terms of what each team wants to do? It's just a matter of executing what each team wants to do better?
Yeah, I mean, you know what everyone's going to do. We know each other's plays. You know the tendencies of everybody. At that point, it's you got to try to will some of these games, or if you can cause some turnovers or just push out their catches a little more. It's just little nuances of the game. There's nothing that's going to surprise us. They're not going to play someone that they haven't played yet. We're not going to play someone that we haven't played yet. They know everything that's coming from us. So it's just trying to put your will on a game. Try to make everything that they do tougher. If they can catch the ball, 2 feet or 3 feet out of where they want to catch the ball, that helps us in the possession.
Chance now to close them out on Friday night. I know you've had a closeout game already with this group, but just what that's going to take to go up there and get that win on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, that's a team that plays extremely well at home. One of the better home court advantages. So for us, we have to do what we did. We have to try to hit them first. We can't play on our heels, especially not on the road there.
Something Devin said at shoot-around was that, you guys were going to need to upset Vic. Whether it was because of the flagrant or not, that's the version of him you guys were going to need tonight. Is that the version you felt you got? Is there another word you'd use to describe it?
Yeah, I mean, we need him to go out there and be aggressive both offensively and defensively. And that's not necessarily just looking for a shot. Whenever we're on defense and teams are trying to seal him, throw the guy off, get the guy off, get in position. We know that, and he knows that they're going to try to be extremely physical when I'm on the other end. And that's where it comes to hitting first. You're going to get hit, you got to hit someone. He's rolling to the basket, knowing that someone's going to hit him. He hit first. He's going to the basket on a rebound, knowing that he's going to get hit. Just those things, because we know the talent that he has and we know the way that he can affect the game. But when it comes down to, who can be the more physical team or who can be the team that is able to, withstand those hits, I think he did a great job at that tonight. He didn't falter whenever, he got hit and he fell to the floor. We know that, even the strongest players in the league get hit and they fall. And when he's playing the way that he played tonight, it's hard to beat us.
De'Aaron Fox and his post-game thoughts after the Spurs defeat the Timberwolves last night, 126-97. I'm Carl Schoening, the host of the Starting Lineup, and I do like playing a lot of audio from the other people that are much smarter than me about basketball, and I appreciate LG for always putting those clips together. De'Aaron Fox is probably one of the more enjoyable listens because I feel like he gives the most authentic answers. And LG, you cut this audio up as much as anybody at this point. I feel like the Spurs are probably one of the best teams top to bottom I've ever seen in their interviews, but he really feels like somebody who doesn't even think about what he's saying. He just gives you his honest action, and it's very articulate and said well, and really gives you an insight to what's going on with the Spurs and their thought process.
Love De'Aaron Fox in the press conferences. He's just kind of like a stream of consciousness there. He just lets it go, and he's very well spoken, and he doesn't ever hold anything back. He's just him.
Yeah. Yeah, and that leads to a lot of amusing moments. I think Luke Cornett's one of those other guys that I really enjoy when I hear and cut up his audio, because Cornett's the funniest guy on the team, probably, at least in the interview setting. I would say Keldon might be the funniest guy, but he keeps it very professional in the interviews. And Keldon almost flips a switch to where he's back to being his goofy self. There are plenty of interviews where Keldon is just trying to annoy his teammates. It's very funny. So I enjoy this team as an interview team. But yeah, De'Aaron Fox, great stuff, really. I like what he talked about a lot with Vic and establishing the physicality of the game. And there was that one point that I thought was so spot on. He said, at this point, nothing surprises us. They're not going to throw anything that we haven't seen in this series at us, and they're not going to throw a player that we haven't seen. And yeah, Johan Berenger, he's not going to come in there and all of a sudden provide 10 points and 7 rebounds in 12 minutes in Game 6 to be the deciding factor for the Timberwolves. Is going to have to come up to the guys that we've already seen out there. And Dante DiVincenzo makes a difference in this series. I think that it's much more of a definitive Spurs 6-game, maybe 7-game series if Dante DiVincenzo's playing. But without DiVincenzo, it feels like the Spurs could have swept this series. Game 1, we've talked about, Julian Champagnie just misses the 3 that could have won it on a poor shooting night overall for San Antonio from 3. And then Game 4, another poor shooting night, and everybody knows Wemby gets ejected at the 8:39 mark of the second quarter. But the Spurs answer right back and bounced back with a 126-97 victory last night over the Timberwolves to take the 3-2 series lead and have a chance to close it out on Friday night. That will be, you know what? I don't want to lie. I want to say NBC, and I have it set up right here. It will be indeed on Prime Video, so I did get that wrong. Friday night, both games are on Prime Video. I'm pretty sure I'll be out at the Rocket La Cantera. That'll be a good time as the Spurs look to punch their ticket into the Western Conference Finals. Oklahoma City pretty much guaranteed, I think, at least 6 days off here. If the Spurs can close the Timberwolves out in 6, we'll see when that series would start. Ideally, the Spurs are not going to play a Game 7, which is, if necessary, on Sunday with a time to be determined. But Spurs give themselves an opportunity to close it out on Friday night. Of course, we'll be talking all about that when we come back on the Starting Lineup, though. Got to tell you, it has been a tough week if you're a fan of Ole Miss, because they catch strays from all over the place, and it's it's an interesting thing. We talk about the fun in college sports, and there is always just a lot of fun with those college sports in the rivalry games. We'll talk about that when we come back on the starting lineup.
There's another one and another one.
Spurs fans, it's playoff time in San Antonio. Get in the spirit with Swish, a new Spurs-themed song produced by War Chief featuring Troy Matthews, Big Roddy, and Ice Villa. The perfect soundtrack for this playoff run.
Watch for Wimby in the middle as he's leading all the blocks, giving Govasell the Barnes as they beat the shot clock.
Streaming now on all platforms. Swish by the War Chief. And as always, go Spurs go. Hey San Antonio sports fans, imagine your business scoring big with thousands of passionate listeners who are already fired up about local sports. Right now you're one of thousands tuned into Ticket 760. This is the raw power of live radio, immediate, loyal, and impossible to scroll past. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this engaged audience. Sponsors also get professional social media production included. Shoot us an email at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
I'm Dr. Jason Garrett with Arasti. For nearly 20 years, I've helped patients recover from pain and injuries quickly, and that includes some of the best in the game, like Tony Parker and many professional and Olympic athletes. At Arasti, we find the root cause of your pain and fix it fast. Most patients resolve their pain in just 3 to 4 visits. No long treatment plans, no gimmicks, just results. So whether you're a pro athlete or just want to get back to what you love, visit Arasti.com and schedule now. That's AIRROSTI.com. We fix pain fast.
When it comes to results, the numbers speak for themselves. Thomas J. Henry secured over $1 billion for clients in the past 4 years and successfully represented thousands of injured Texans. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust. San Antonio, Texas.
Voters are listening to the radio. Tons of them. If you're running for office, radio is where people are actually tuned in, not swiping past ads. Connect with communities everywhere and get on the air in just 48 hours. Visit winwithiheart.com. That's winwithiheart.com.
Ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup? Let Mattress Firm sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, ideal comfort. Score unbeatable deals on both. They make sleep easy.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches. The softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
It's time to warm up that scoreboard and get ready to bring home the win with Specs. Specs has you covered with lower prices on all your favorite fan fuel. From craft beer, rare spirits, and world-class wine to chips, dips, and gourmet finer foods. And with same-day delivery when you order online or through the app, Specs is your MVP for the biggest score of the game. At Specs, the fun starts here.
Here's to you, cheers to savings.
Black Swan Yoga is a donation-based yoga studio with 3 locations in San Antonio. There's no pressure for a membership of any kind. Just drop in when you can, pay what you can, come as you are, and give yoga a shot. Classes start at 6 a.m. and go until 8:30 p.m. on weekdays with varieties such as hot and room temperature classes, beginner, chill, power, and all-level flow classes. I'm almost there every day, and it's a great way to relax or get a good workout in. Give yoga a shot at Black Swan Yoga San Antonio.
Hello, I'm Robert Smigel. I did lots of things. Cartoons on SNL, Conan stuff, Triumph the Insult Comic Dogs, some movies. But now I'm past my peak. So I'm hosting a podcast, Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends. Each week, me and my favorite comedians, writers, and whatnots help regular people just like you, presuming you're regular, who have some project or task that they'd like us to help make funnier.
Search Humor Me on iHeartRadio, America's #1 podcast network, and the Webby Podcast Company of the Year.
Silver and black and no excuses. Start your day with a starting lineup.
It is the starting lineup on Ticket 760. I'm Carl Schoening, your host. Along with me is our producer, LG. You'll occasionally hear him chime in. You can reach out to me on Twitter and Instagram at OnAirCarl. That is Carl with a K at OnAirCarl. And you can reach out to LG at DJLG210. Any other ways anybody can get involved with the show, LG?
Yeah, of course. You can jump into the chat here on YouTube. We live stream this show on YouTube as we do it live or as we record it the night before. But today we are live in the morning, up early as the Spurs win. Give us a subscription at Starting Lineup Live on YouTube. Follow us on all social medias at Starting Lineup Live. And we are here for the people. So if you want to react, overreact, and knee jerk to the game last night or the upcoming game on Friday, hit us up in the chat.
I don't think that there is an overreaction for what the Spurs did last night. They win 126-97, and I think the only overreaction, and I wouldn't say that it's not out of the realm of possibility, is the Spurs don't lose a game the rest of the playoffs. That'd be not likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs rattle off the final 9 games.
I'm sure there was a lot of overreaction going down Commerce Street last night, you know?
I don't go honking, I realize, because I routinely need to use my horn in San Antonio. So there's too many crazy drivers. I can't imagine the drivers that are distracted with all of the honking. Insurance premiums must go up in this city anytime the Spurs do something crazy. And you know, LG, you've lived here your whole life, if I'm not mistaken,
Pretty
with
much.
the exception of, here and there. Has honking been as big as it is now? It feels like this is almost like a social media trend that's taken off in real life, kind of. And
Well, I was actually talking about this last night with Steve Sanders, who's a director for the San Antonio Spurs in-house broadcast team, and he told me he went honking in 1999.
I know honking's been around, but like, did San Antonio really do it to this extent after every essentially good thing that happened?
I think it's exploded. I think it was just after it started after the championship win. I think in '99, but
it was reserved for a really special occasion, and now we do it, which is also a special occasion
after every playoff win. Now it's basically, and some regular season games as well this year.
Some regular season games were so hype that I know people went out honking, and I think most of them, a good chunk of those regular season wins were the ones against OKC. I don't know how much honking was being done on Christmas Day.
That Clippers game, everyone went out honking.
Yeah.
And then the comeback game against Detroit in the regular season, that was another honking game. I think fans have just been so starved to have a good team for the last, 7-8 years or so. And they're just letting out the release by honking that horn.
It is really wild, actually, how good this Spurs team is. They won 62 games in the regular season. They started off 5-0, which was a franchise record for consecutive wins before losing a game. And then they had a little bit of a tough stretch, but they in November, with a couple injuries to Dylan Harper, there was a stretch where Devin Vassell was out in 2025, but they have the best record in the NBA in the year 2026. And yeah, if you tell me that your overreaction is the Spurs are going to win by 20 every single game the rest of the playoffs, yeah, that's your overreaction. But other than that, I don't see how you can't be excited about this team. Last night, I sort of just knew in my bones that they were going to step up. There was a little inkling in my head, LG, that it's like, oh, this could be the last time that we're in this arena.
Mm-hmm.
If the Spurs were to have lost last night and then they lose game 6, then that would be it. I wouldn't be back at the Frost Bank Center until whenever the first preseason game is. There was that thought crossed my mind and immediately was dismissed. This San Antonio Spurs team has passed every test that they have been handed this season. There has not been a lack of adversity for sure, but I think overall this is a very young yet mature Spurs team in a league. I like how Tom Haberstroh put it the other way. Now values mobility over miles. And there was a time where a team like this, so young, where you're talking about pretty much everybody is 25 and younger, with the exception of a couple rotation players like De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes and Luke Cornett. But this is the first go for a lot of these young players, and I would not be surprised if they close it out in Game 6. And then the Spurs, quite frankly, have had Oklahoma City's number this year. They'll get a little bit of benefit of the rest. Jalen Williams might be back for that series, but that's a very winnable series for San Antonio based off of the evidence of the regular season, where the Thunder saw no value in losing to the Spurs for a fourth time at full strength. So they decided to put everybody on the injury report, and the fifth game against the Spurs on February 4th. And that's a mental game that the Spurs have just won on that case. They're not going to go out there and try and play for their own pride, that the Spurs are going to basically force them to say, we're taking the next week off with all these injuries instead of trying to play you guys, quote unquote, at full strength. But yeah, and then the Knicks, that would be very fitting if the team that the Spurs lost to in the NBA Cup is their NBA Finals matchup. They were going to wait and see what happens at the end of the Pistons-Cavs series. I touch on that. And LG, I was a little concerned about making this lead, but it seems to be an appropriate lead into the topic we'll also return with. Which state is more racist, Louisiana or Mississippi?
Whoa,
Yeah. That was the conversation between LSU and Ole Miss this week. It got bad on social media, but it is college football is less than 100 days away reminder from anybody that is how it turned out yesterday. SEC football is wild. If you ever want to listen to the Paul Feinbaum show, you will be surprised what people are willing to say over live radio. That would make my comment tame. SEC football, I have to talk that when we come back as well. Starting lineup rolls on here on Ticket 760. I regret that tease already.
This is San Antonio FC Insider, brought to you by Methodist.
San Antonio FC announced they're giving away 2 tickets to the Saudi Arabia and Senegal men's national team friendly being hosted at Toyota Field on June 9th. Friendlies are a vital part of final preparations before competing in the World Cup. Saudi Arabia begins playing Group H against Uruguay, while Senegal will face off against defending runner-up France in Group I. To enter the giveaway, follow SAFC on Instagram, like the post, and tag who you would like to take with you to the game. Entries close on Friday, May 15th at 5 p.m. That's today's SAFC Insider. I'm Katie Goodman.
Severe stomach cramps, trouble breathing, back pain? Don't diagnose yourself. For emergency medical care, leave it to the experts at one of our Methodist Healthcare ER locations. When it's an emergency, count on our trusted care teams and convenient locations. Our ERs offer high-quality emergency care 24/7. Choose emergency medical care wisely. Choose Methodist Healthcare. Find a location near you at sahealth.com/ER.
Creating content to promote your brand is a 24/7 hustle these days. If you're looking for someone to professionally provide videos, photos, and more, reach out for a free consultation. Hi, I'm Carl Schoening, and I'm more than just the host of the Starting Lineup. I'm an expert in production work. I offer professional live streaming, podcast recording, photos, videos, social media strategy, and more. To learn more, shoot me an email at carlschoeningmedia@gmail.com or check out my work and shoot me a DM on Instagram at OnAirCarl. That's Carl with a K. Let's level up your content together.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Ownwell. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ownwell.com/terms. Individual results may vary.
Right now, I have 24 different units. I think that's 15 separate properties. I trust Ownwell with all my properties. I trust them to fight for me with the appraisal district as best they can. And they've done a very good job. Ownwell is making my life more efficient, making me a better landlord. Using Ownwell, I've saved on average about $10,000 a year. That's a lot of money.
Your property taxes aren't set in stone. They can be reduced. Ownwell combines savvy technology and deep local expertise to save real estate owners real money. Want to see how much Ownwell can save you on your property taxes? Just enter an address and see your tax savings estimate. See how much you can save with Ownwell right now. But hurry, deadlines to file end this week. Text SAVE to 64,000. Text SAVE to 64,000. That's SAVE to 64,000.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-361-7615 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-361-7615. That's 800-361-7615. What do you have to lose? Call 800-361-7615. Again, 800-361-7615.
Almost 90 years ago, Academy Sports and Outdoors was born right here in Texas. So we know a thing or two about a thing or two. Like beans don't belong in chili. It's called a feeder road. And how far really means how long. We've been your neighbor for generations. That's why we're adding Texas-sized deals across the store, only in Texas. If you happen to find a better price at a competitor, we'll beat it by 5%. Academy. Fun can't lose.
Right now, you're one of thousands tuned into this station. Locked in, fired up, and ready to talk Spurs, Cowboys, and everything in between. That's the unbeatable power of live radio. It reaches you instantly, and you can't scroll past it. Plus, we're streaming and growing on social media. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this passionate audience. And when you join us, you get professional social media production included. Content created for your business. Shoot us an email right now at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
Your morning drive, your morning takes. Back to the starting lineup.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760. I'm Carl Schoening. You can reach out to me on Twitter at OnAirCarl, or you can join us on YouTube and leave a comment. LG is at DJLG210, and he's monitoring said and aforementioned comments section. We got a comment?
Yeah, we do. Chris Silva's in here. He says, good morning. First of all,
Go Spurs, go!
just have to say something about cancel culture. I was sitting in section 102. Some idiot went to complain that I was being too loud at the game. What? I don't think there is such a thing as being too loud at the game.
That is not something that I think any usher should take seriously.
Yep. And he goes on to say, and the fact that this Spurs game gave out rally towels, this guy didn't have to react like that as I was waving the flag behind him. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for being part of the show, Chris. It really, if someone's cursing and saying things that are inappropriate, 1,000,000% report that person and, at least ask them to calm down first, what have you. It depends on whether or not you feel able to confront them about it. But
there's no way you were louder than the Jackals.
There's no reason to say anyone is too loud unless they have like a vuvuzela or, like one of those instruments like a drum, like things that are generating noise.
Especially when they're putting up signs on the Jumbotron that says make noise.
Yeah. So, that's funny. That's all you can do about that, Chris, is laugh and be like, really?
Just look at him and go.
Yeah. That's unfortunate that people sometimes don't understand that they're walking into a loud environment. I personally wear noise-canceling headphones because I'm out there so many times. And
I as well, I wear noise-canceling earbuds, and my left one fell out during one of the T-shirt tosses, and that ear is still ringing right now.
Oh, no. Were you able to recover the headphone at least?
Oh, yeah, they're wired.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're not wireless, so yeah.
No, for sure. Well, I kind of regret that tease, LG, that I led into this segment with, but SEC football is just so entertaining to me. I don't talk about it like it's a primary focus in my life, but I check in on it, and it always makes me laugh. So I check in on the SEC this week, and it starts off with Lane Kiffin was doing an interview with Vanity Fair, and he said that some of the top recruits would tell him they weren't interested in going to Ole Miss when he was the head coach there because it's not a place that I guess people want their children to go. So this is the quote from Lane Kiffin in Vanity Fair. They would say, "Hey, coach, we really like you, but my grandparents aren't letting me move to Oxford, Mississippi," Kiffin said, according to the magazine. "That doesn't come up when you say Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Parents were sitting here this weekend saying this campus's diversity feels so great, feels like there's no segregation, and we want that for our kid because that's the real world." And as you can imagine, Ole Miss doesn't want to say anything. Sometimes the best PR is no PR. They're not going to respond to that. You can feel slighted because your former coach is going to, make such a statement after that was already a bad breakup if you hadn't been following it. And on top of all of that, it probably is understandable to see what Lane Kiffin was saying. So Kiffin has to come back the next day, and after the quote got out, according to the article, he clarified his remark one day later and says, "I just hope my comment comes across as respectful to Ole Miss. There are some things that I'm saying that are factual. They're not shots." And he told On3 that his comments were not calculated in the sense that he was trying to maybe put down Ole Miss or anything along those lines. It's just stuff that happens when you're talking about, I guess, recruiting people to come to Mississippi. Steve Sarkisian, the head coach for the University of Texas, he decides just to take a shot just to take a shot. So Ole Miss, not really catching a break this week. Steve Sarkisian explained that Ole Miss, it doesn't really care about your academics. And I had the quote pulled up right here. I wanted to make sure that here's the quote. "At Texas, we only take 50% of a player's academic credit hours," Sarkisian noted to USA Today. "You may be a semester away from graduating, but you're going all the way back to 50% if you play here and want a degree. But at Ole Miss, they can take you. All you have to take is basket weaving, and you can get an Ole Miss degree." Shots fired. That is not actually necessarily a bad thing if you're a college athlete and you want to just focus on the athlete part of being a student athlete. But I just feel like that's a rough week for Ole Miss. And then to top it all off, after all of this, it is officially announced that the LSU at Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi will be September 9th, a 6:30 kickoff on ABC. They made this boil out in the tailgate for almost essentially 24 hours. LSU tailgating, they are going to get out there with all the gumbo and all the fried alligator probably on Thursday for a Saturday game. This is going to be the longest day for the Oxford Police Department, to the point that 9 hours ago, after the announcement was made 15 hours ago, they tweeted out a GIF of the guy from The Office, and he just says "yay" very sarcastically. And yeah, they're going to have a long day on September 19th. That is going to be must-see TV. And I just really appreciate Sarkisian coming in and adding his 2 cents on it, not even relating to the topic of conversation. He's just going to say, you know what, Ole Miss, you could just not take a class, really. Basket weaving's not really a class. If it is, then I'm sure no one actually attends it.
Guess which state out of all 50 in the United States has the ranking for the lowest IQ?
Mississippi?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Checks out.
Bottom of the list.
No, I have no interest in visiting Mississippi, to be honest with you. Even if I do want to see a game out there, I have to be careful that this doesn't come back to bite me, but that's the way of the internet. But I don't think that you could pay me enough to live in Mississippi.
No, I wouldn't want to live there. I've passed through on an Amtrak train before, but that's about it.
That almost doesn't even count.
No, it doesn't. We stopped, but I didn't leave the station.
Fair enough.
So,
yeah. No, and LSU, I've never been to Baton Rouge. I've probably driven through it myself.
I love Baton Rouge.
Yeah, Louisiana's a fun state. They have 24-hour liquor stores, casinos. Their gumbo is amazing.
I went on the riverboat there and placed some bets on roulette in Baton Rouge.
In a not too distant past, I was looking into an open job at La Tech in Ruston, Louisiana, and I just knew that I would probably be eating Cajun food too much. I needed to not take that job, and also I didn't know much about Ruston. They're like less than 30,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like it's New Orleans or a big city, and we sort of take for granted how populated we are here in Texas. So those small towns in Louisiana might have been a culture shock, and Mississippi is a culture shock I don't even want to test run. So I can't think of that. So I just think that's a ridiculous thing that happens only in college football. College football is one of those weird sports where it's not better in terms of the talent on the field than the NFL, but it's just better than the NFL. And you can't say that about any lower level sport in, I think, any sport. College football just has all of this fun side drama, and I think we all appreciate even though it's not amateur sports anymore, just still like sort of the youth of it. It's always a good time in the SEC and college football as well. I do want to eventually talk some UIW football. They're always a good team here in town. And of course, Ticket 760 is your home for UTSA athletics. You get plenty of UTSA talk with Andy in the afternoon. But you're here on the morning show. This is the starting lineup. We wrap up the show when we come back on Ticket 760 and YouTube. Stick with us, and then Dan Patrick after us. If you're not digging the content you created on your phone, maybe it's time to upgrade to a content specialist who can make your video sharp and your audio clear. Hi, I'm Carl Schoening, and I'm more than just the host of The Starting Lineup. I'm an expert in production work. I offer social media content creation to help your brand grow online using professional photo, video, and audio equipment. To learn more, shoot me an email at carlschoeningmedia@gmail.com or check out my work and shoot me a DM on Instagram at OnAirCarl. That's Carl with a K. Let's level up your content together.
There's another one and another one.
Spurs fans, it's playoff time in San Antonio. Get in the spirit with Swish, a new Spurs-themed song produced by War Chief featuring Troy Matthews, Big Roddy, and Ice Villa. The perfect soundtrack for this playoff run.
Watch for Wimby in the middle as he's leading all the blocks, giving go for Sell Barnes as they beat the shot clock.
Streaming now on all platforms. Swish by the War Chief. And as always, go Spurs go.
Spring is here, but if you're still feeling exhausted with no energy and no sex drive, it's time to head to Synergenics. 1 in 4 men has low T, and 80% of women experience hormonal imbalance. At Synergenics, the testosterone test is free for men, and women get a $200 discount on their entire hormone test. If it's low, Synergenics will customize a plan for you, and they validate it with periodic labs. Put the spring back in your step. Head to feelgreatlookgreat.com to book your appointment today. That's feelgreatlookgreat.com.
On Plus Nicotine Pouches present Comfort Chronicles. A 10 o'clock tea time. How comfortable. You show up in stretchy shorts, a breathable tee, and maybe no socks.
Let the dogs breathe.
While others sweat in pleated khakis, you're in your comfort zone bombing drives. And in your pocket, On Plus Nicotine Pouches. The softest pouch on the planet. Buy a can at onnicotine.com. Products for tobacco consumers 21 years of age or older. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Proud to make Pops proud. Proud to be Proud Pops.
I'm Brandon Ragler, co-founder of Proud Pops Plumbing, Air, and Electric.
And I'm Jacob Magby, the other co-founder and also co-brother.
With air conditioning season here already, homeowners are wondering if that old AC that barely made it through last summer is ready to handle this summer.
But no one wants to buy a new AC if the old one can be fixed up. good as new.
As Pops used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
To be fair, quite a lot of people say that.
Yeah, but when Pop said it, he meant don't pressure people into an expensive replacement when the AC they have still has a few good years left, in the hands of the right serviceman.
Call Proud Pops and we'll assess the situation and give you a Pops proof report with a plethora of pictures that clearly show what needs to be done.
As Pops used to say, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Literally everyone says a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Proud to make Pops proud. Proud to be Proud Pops.
Give us a call and we'll pop in.
Visit proudpops.com.
Since 1993, Thomas J. Henry dedicated himself to building a firm that injured clients can trust and respect. A firm backed by a track record of success and commitment to our clients. If you've been injured, trust Thomas J. Henry, San Antonio, Texas.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
This is the month to get a Kia from World Car Kia. And if you have a trade-in, we'd like to buy it, no matter the condition or what you owe.
Get 0% financing on new 2026 Kia Sportages and 0% on Sorrentos too. Get 2,000 customer cash on 2025 Tellurides. Get savings on new Kias all this month.
And at World Car Kia, every new vehicle comes with a lifetime warranty and lifetime roadside assistance. Visit our new store at Kia South or any of our stores in San Antonio or New Braunfels and save. Kia, World Car Kia.
With approved credit through KMF.
Hey, San Antonio sports fans, imagine your business scoring big with thousands of passionate listeners who are already fired up about local sports. Right now, you're one of thousands tuned into Ticket 760. This is the raw power of live radio, immediate, loyal, and impossible to scroll past. The starting lineup is looking for sponsors who want direct access to this engaged audience. Sponsors also get professional social media production included. Shoot us an email at thestartinglineupshow@gmail.com. Team up with the starting lineup on Ticket 760.
Pantalones Organic Tequila. Because tequila is fun. Pantalones.
Your home for Spurs talk. This is the starting lineup with Carl Schoening.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760. We did talk a lot of Spurs today. The Spurs move on to a chance to punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals after defeating the Minnesota Timberwolves in a pivotal Game 5, 126-97. And LG, I talked about it on the air last night with Dan Weiss, and we talked about it yesterday morning, but the Spurs had a must-win yesterday, and they responded so accordingly that if anybody was doubting the Spurs team for whatever reason, I have no reason to see why you would ever lose faith in this team, but there was maybe just a little bit of doubt of what if this is the game the Timberwolves win to somehow find momentum to get that Minnesota magic and win this series in 6. The Spurs really jumped out to a big lead, kept the Timberwolves at arm's length last night, and passed that test with flying colors.
Absolutely. And it was a must win, and Spurs produced. Got a little scared there in the third quarter when the Timberwolves tied it up and actually took the lead for a brief second there. They only led the game twice, I believe, in the third quarter, and then when they were up 5-4 early on in the game, but Victor Wembanyama came out early and set the tone for the team. De'Aaron Fox, though, he set the tone as well, scored 18 points, but he missed a few give-me shots. If he had hit some of those layups that just kind of bounced the wrong way, he would have had 27.
Yeah, he's going so fast that I think it's hard sometimes for him to slow the ball down. So sometimes when he gets to the rim, I'm a little shocked because he's so shifty. He really is.
He had some really good spin moves there.
Yeah, Fox is a very appropriate name.
That's true.
He is very quick, and sometimes I think that speed works against him because when you're moving so fast, you have to find a way to slow the ball down off of the glass or the rim, what have you, wherever the shot may need to go. If he floats it up, sometimes you have to slow down the trajectory of the ball. The level of basketball that De'Aaron Fox plays with his kind of quickness is it's very impressive. But I do think that, De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, when they come out and set the tone, the Spurs are a hard team to beat because the Spurs can jump out to an early lead, and then you have two of the best offensive players in the league starting to find a rhythm. And you and I talk about it all the time. Too much is given, much is expected. So De'Aaron Fox does get criticized a fair bit because he's expected to be a superstar for the Spurs.
He's the scapegoat.
Yeah, he's very much people. I saw somebody who posted a clip on a meme that the guy, he opens the newspaper, newspapers when they used to be thrown at your doorstep, opens up the newspaper and says, partly cloudy with a chance of rain, and blames his neighbor because he just wanted to immediately blame his neighbor. It was a funny little cartoon clip. And the Spurs lose most of the time. People like to point to Fox, and I disagree. I think, not everyone's going to have a great game, and De'Aaron is very much a big, important part of it. The Spurs get that motor of Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox going early, then San Antonio is the best team in basketball, and that's been proven throughout the year. That's not just me saying that.
Yep.
Another team, though, I teased it all show, and I had to get into it real quick. Another team that's arguably the best in basketball, the Detroit Pistons. They had a chance to sweep this series. Cleveland does what Cleveland has done all playoffs long and won their home games. They return to Detroit tied at 2 games apiece. I think the whistle changes once again. I think the Pistons are allowed to be a little bit more bullying and let them play on fair amount more. I think the Pistons force a game 6, and I think the Cavaliers do exactly what the Cavaliers have been doing, win in Cleveland, and this will be a 7-game series on the Eastern Conference side of things, but it is the only game tonight, a 7 o'clock start on ESPN. I'll be watching that one. It'll be a good matchup between two teams in the Eastern Conference. That said, I think no team in the Eastern Conference is playing better than the New York Knicks. Arguably, no team in the rest of the playoffs is playing better than the New York Knicks. So the Knicks, off of their sweep, get to watch this potential 7-game series between Detroit and Cleveland unfold. I was so excited about last night, LG, that I thought about all of the things, and I realized that we could be on course for a repeat of 1999 and have a Knicks-Spurs finals.
No, we could only hope.
So much so that I snapped my procrastination right before going to bed, and I applied for NBA Finals credentials.
Oh, okay.
The deadline is Monday the 18th.
Oh, you might have to send me the link for that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully you get to keep working those gigs. That would be great if you were doing the finals in.
But worst case scenario, if the Spurs don't make it to the finals, I still would consider going to a finals game. Maybe not in Oklahoma City, but New York, Madison Square Garden sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. So I guess if we get approved for those credentials, I'll talk to Big Boss Brian about getting you credentials. I would figure out a way to slum it in New York City if it cost me $1,000 to get up there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because
Yeah. It's probably going to be really pricey and price me out, but we'll see.
We'd have to figure out, are we going to stay in Scranton, New Jersey, and take the train up to New York City?
I'll stay in Hoboken. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's the city that never sleeps, and maybe Dan Weiss will let us crash on his floor at the 5-star hotel the Spurs will be staying at in New York City. But I would love that, and the Spurs have a chance to get a date to the Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Hopefully the Thunder are not in those finals, and San Antonio and New York, that'd be fun. San Antonio and Cleveland, not as much.
No, not at all. And before we get out of here, we got one comment from Jason Lassay. Says, great show, fellas. Spurs in 6. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Spurs in 6. Thanks for joining the show, Jason. Thank you all for tuning in on YouTube or Ticket 760. If you're listening on the radio dial, coming up next, Dan Patrick. Spurs get a couple of days off. They will be traveling to Minnesota tomorrow for the eventual Game 6 Friday night. That'll be around an 8:45 tip-off on Prime Video. A fun one to hopefully wrap up the series between the Spurs and the Timberwolves. And we will also have Game 6 preceding that between the Pistons and Cavaliers. We talk about all of that and more here on the starting lineup on Ticket 760. Have a good rest of your Wednesday, everyone.
Spurs Insider. Brought to you by Methodist Healthcare.
Victor Wembanyama collected 27 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists to lead 6 players in double figures as the Spurs routed the Timberwolves 126-97 Tuesday at the Frost Bank Center, take a 3-2 lead in the best-of-7 Western Conference Semifinals. Keldon Johnson scored a playoff-high 21 points, and Dylan Harper recorded his second career double-double. Series shifts to Minnesota Friday for Game 6. Tip times at 8:30 on Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI.